Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze Pep Guardiola's tactical plan against Pochettino's PSG. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have PSG in what should be a 4-3-3, and then we see Man City in a 4-2-3-1. So first, we're going to look at how City looked to approach the game out of possession and where they encountered some issues against PSG, and then focus to their overall attacking scheme and how Guardiola shifted it in the second half. So first we have to look at PSG's shape, and what it often did shift into was more of a 4-2-4, with Gay and Paredes just a bit deeper, Verratti pushing into an advanced position just ahead of Walker into the gap between Rodri and Mahrez. And then what you ended up seeing was that Neymar was obviously high, closer to Mbappe, looking to receive the ball between the lines and in central positions, and Di Maria was tucking in narrow to pull out Cancelo. That does leave space for Florenzi and Bakker to push beyond Mahrez and Foden. And City's main focus here was to press higher up the pitch and cut off the supply line to Mbappe and Neymar. In the previous round against Borussia Dortmund, they struggled in that facet, but here we ended up seeing De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva stepping towards the center backs, and if Paredes or Gay looked to drop off deeper to make it a 3v2, if De Bruyne was stepping out to Marquinhos, then Bernardo would stick on Paredes, and you would see Mahrez shifting to Kimpembe and blocking off the passing lane into Bakker. The same thing would apply if we had De Bruyne on Paredes and Bernardo stepping to Kimpembe. Then at times you would see Foden pushing forward to close down Marquinhos, and if the ball was shifted out to Florenzi, then Cancelo would have to step forward and Ruben Diaz would have to push higher to close down Di Maria. In that midfield zone, it was technically Gundogan and Rodri who should have been closing down Paredes, but like I said, if they were dropping off deeper, then that would leave a spare City midfielder in that zone, and he would be able to shift across to the spare man if it was Di Maria, so Ruben Diaz could stick with Stones to occupy Mbappe. The main reason why you would instruct Ruben Diaz to step out to Di Maria is that if you have Neymar dropping off into space between the lines, the spare man in Gundogan or Rodri would be able to push forward to apply pressure. And if Paredes or Gay didn't drop off deeper, then that would allow Gundogan and Rodri to close down those central midfielders, Cancelo would stick to Di Maria, and then Walker would often occupy Verratti, who was making vertical runs forward. Here you could see an example of City's press with De Bruyne ahead of Marquinhos, Mahrez stepping towards Kimpembe, Bernardo Silva on Idrissa Gueye, and then you have Rodri holding the center of the pitch with Verratti to his right, and Gundogan and Foden stepping towards Neymar, who is dropping off into his own half. If we look to another example, here you could see Kimpembe pushing forward with Mahrez stepping towards him, De Bruyne ahead of Marquinhos, Bernardo Silva near Idrissa Gueye, Verratti to the right of Rodri, and once again you see 3v2 with Neymar and Mbappe as Walker, Stones, and Ruben Diaz are within close proximity of the PSG forwards, and then you have Gundogan and Foden just ahead of Di Maria with Cancelo pushing forward as well. City's press wasn't perfect in the opening half, and they did encounter issues with Neymar dropping between the lines to get on the ball or sometimes dropping off ahead of the City midfield bank to link play. But their main issue besides Neymar was down their left-hand side, where Phil Foden was often getting caught centrally stepping towards Marquinhos or simply not tracking the movement of Florenzi, and with Di Maria shifting into central positions to pull out Cancelo, it was clear that Pochettino wanted Florenzi to break forward into that space behind the City left back. Here we could see Verratti sliding the ball across the City midfield duo for Di Maria dragging Cancelo into the halfway circle, and that's where you see Florenzi running off Foden. Di Maria drops the ball off to Gay, and although De Bruyne looks to get across to apply pressure, if Gay clips that ball over Foden, then Florenzi is able to break forward into City's third. When Florenzi receives the ball in City's third, that's where you see Mbappe looking to make a run off Stones to the back post. However, Florenzi ends up clipping that ball over the center backs and Mbappe, and that halts the play. The corner that PSG won for their opener followed a similar theme. You have Paredes in the halfway circle pulling out De Bruyne, and Foden stepping towards Marquinhos, with Florenzi looking to make a run beyond Cancelo. When Paredes clips a long ball over the City left back, it falls to Florenzi, who drops it off to Mbappe, and although he is swarmed by 3 City players, he ends up dropping it off to Di Maria, who wins the corner. Here we end up seeing Foden stepping towards Marquinhos with De Bruyne, and Marquinhos is able to slide the ball to Idrissa Gueye, who pulls out Gundogan, and that leaves Florenzi free in towards the touchline ahead of Cancelo, who's also occupied by Di Maria. When Florenzi receives the ball, he ends up taking his touch across Cancelo, and that's where you end up seeing Mbappe looking to make a run between the center backs as Ruben Dias steps forward. However, unfortunately for PSG, Florenzi's attempt to play an Mbappe is denied by Ruben Dias. However, when we shift to PSG out of possession, they dropped off into two banks of four, and they were a clear 4-4-2 with Di Maria and Verratti out in the wider areas. And when you shift to City's overall shape pushing forward, Cancelo and Walker were wide, and we ended up seeing Foden and Mahrez holding the touchline. Similar to PSG, City were more of a 4-2-4 in possession, and what was key was the movement of the front four. Foden was holding the touchline with Mahrez as stated earlier, and De Bruyne was dropping off into a pocket of space between Di Maria and Gueye, but he was boxed in by Florenzi and Marquinhos. Whereas when we focus on Bernardo Silva, he was often shifting towards the outside of Verratti to get on the ball, and he was often positioned ahead of Bakker, and that created space for Mahrez. In that midfield zone, it was still Gueye and Paredes against Rodri and Gundogan, and there were times where we ended up seeing Gundogan shifting towards the outside of Di Maria or pushing forward ahead of Marquinhos, with Cancelo tucking in narrow, but when Cancelo tucked into that central area, Idrissa Gueye was quick to step forward to apply pressure. We also saw De Bruyne shifting out towards that left side of the pitch, potentially attempting to create an overload, but City lacked runners in behind that PSG backline. Rodri didn't really get time on the ball in the earlier stages of that game. There was one instance in particular where you saw Di Maria stepping towards him to win possession, and that led to a Neymar Mbappe break. So when you question how City were able to create chances in that opening half, they looked to play through Mahrez, and similar to PSG, they were looking to exploit the left back. And ultimately, that's what made Bernardo Silva's positioning key, because he was pushing beyond Verratti to get on the ball and occupying Bakker, and that's when Mahrez was looking to make runs in behind to get onto the passes from Rodri, Gundogan, Cancelo, or the center backs. Pochettino's attempt to deal with Mahrez in 1v1 positions with the left back was by having Verratti shift across, and at times you would see Paredes and Gueye shift over to make it a 2v3. They were wary of getting Mahrez into 1v1s with Bakker, and ultimately that was what made his runs in behind so crucial. Here you could see Rodri on the ball with no pressure from Gueye or Paredes as De Bruyne is dropping in between the lines, and you could also see Bernardo Silva occupying Bakker. Rodri ends up clipping the ball over Bakker for Mahrez, and when he receives it, he's in a 1v1 with the left back, but you could see Verratti looking to shift across for cover. Mahrez is forced towards the byline, but when he looks to cut back, Verratti's in a great position to ensure that Mahrez can't get into a 1v1, and Bernardo Silva's also occupied by three PSG defenders. That forces Mahrez to cut back and play the ball to De Bruyne. Later on, we witnessed Gundogan dropping off the ball to Cancelo stepping into PSG's third, and Idrissa Gueye doesn't step forward, and that's where you see the overload with Mahrez and Bernardo Silva ahead of Bakker, as Verratti's tucked in centrally. Cancelo's able to locate Bernardo Silva's run in behind the left back, and he clips the ball towards the back post, and that's where you see Bernardo Silva getting onto it ahead of Bakker, and he directs his effort on goal that Keylor Navas pushes away. Here you could see Gundogan ahead of Idrissa Gueye, with Bernardo Silva occupying Bakker, and Mahrez calling for the ball as he begins to make a run off Verratti. What happens next is Mahrez makes that run beyond the Italian, and Gundogan splits Gueye and Bakker, but his pass is overhit. When we shift back to the board, the main tactical alteration in that second half was Cancelo pushing higher up the pitch down the left, with Foden tucking in narrow to occupy Florenzi, and there were times where we ended up seeing Mahrez shifting centrally, with Bernardo Silva looking to get on the ball towards the touchline. That creates an overload in that midfield zone, and now what you end up seeing is that with Mbappe nor Neymar looking to pick up Rodri, at times you could end up having City with a 5v2 overload in that central area. Cancelo's pulling out Di Maria, Verratti's looking to shift across to help out Bakker with Bernardo, and that was how they were able to play quick passes around that midfield zone between Gueye and Paredes. The movement out in the wider areas was key because with Cancelo pushing forward, Di Maria had to drop back, and that creates open space in the central area. And Foden was looking to make runs in between Florenzi and Marquinhos, and if he wasn't, he was dropping off deeper to receive the ball and then turn forward to slide the ball out into the wider areas or run at the PSG backline. The same thing can be said down the right-hand side. They still needed Verratti to shift across to help out with Bakker, solely because they didn't want Mahrez and Bernardo to overload the PSG left back. It was logical for PSG to sit off deeper, and due to the fact that now you had Cancelo pushing forward, and at times Walker was stepping forward as well. De Bruyne was still shifting out towards the left-hand side to get on the ball, and ultimately City didn't create better chances through open play, but they were able to gain control of the game and peg PSG back towards the edge of their box. And lastly, even when we focus on the build-up to City's winner, you have Gundogan on the ball pulling out Di Maria, but look at City's overall shape. No presses on Rodri. You have Mahrez and Foden tucking into either side of Gay and Paredes, with De Bruyne to the left of Di Maria. And if you look out to the wider areas, Zinchenko and Bernardo are higher up the pitch, with Verratti being pulled out to the left-hand side to protect Bakker, so Bernardo Silva can't be in a 1v1. As the play develops, Gundogan slides the ball to Mahrez, dragging out the left back, and Mahrez looks to slide a first-time ball across Paredes and Bakker for Foden shifting laterally across the center backs, with Gay tracking him. And when Foden receives Mahrez's first-time pass, Gay ends up taking him down to concede the free kick that Mahrez converts to win the game. So while neither side scored from open play, it was Guardiola's tactical adjustment that improved Man City's overall performance to help them gain control of the game. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.